Hello and welcome to Business with Co. Today we're going to be looking at the choosing of the advertising medium. So, we looked at a couple of advertising mediums over the past video. We've looked at television, we've looked at radio, we've looked at newspapers, social media, the business's website, and all these other things. We also looked at guerrilla marketing. So there's all these sort of things available. But the question is, they all have their advantages and disadvantages, but what exactly happens when, an advantage and disadvantage kind of comes into play when you're like, okay, so which one do I choose? At the end of the day, which one do I choose? So you've got the multiple factors to consider. You've got cost, your type of products or service, you also got your target market, and your stages in the product life cycle. So, to begin. So, when you have all these sort of factors, you have to sort of think about them. So, first of all, you look at cost. So, a business should use their advertising budget very wisely so that it has the greatest impact on customers and ensure they get the value for money. So, if you can get access to 100,000 customers for this amount of money, that's not necessarily a good thing. If you're able to get access to 50,000 customers, but more of them will buy a product than the 100,000. The point is, you have to be aware that it's not just about how many people you can get, it's also how many people you actually get for what you're paying for. So, if you're not able to pay for a major advertising thing. I don't have the money to go and say, I've got a business idea. You know what? I've set up my business. I'm advertising on television. No, I don't have the money for that. A lot of businesses won't. This is why you'll tend to see a lot of big businesses will be the main ones on television and on the other things, because they're able to pay out big money to be on the big television channels. Now, you also have the type of product and service. You see, the method chosen should let you reflect the image of the product. You don't really want to have a designer brand of clothing on a local radio station, but you might have a designer brand of clothing online. All these sort of things. So it has to reflect its brand image, and it might decide to advertise in a more suitable area. A business might decide to advertise in things like a magazine to sort of get this sort of level. It's like, okay, I'm gonna advertise in a way which is specific to the kind of area you've got here. And this is also the thing, because you've also got the old target market. A business should most certainly use a method to reach the largest possible target market. You see, TV and newspaper advertisements are at a disadvantage here, because a television studio are not able to say, they weren't able to say for years that, we have, 1 million viewers viewing in. But if I'm saying, I'm only really looking at half those million, I'm only looking at 500,000 of those, 500,000 people are people who would be interested, because roughly half of those are going to be people who are in my target market. So, it doesn't matter if you've got 1 million viewers. I don't need your 1 million viewers. I need 500,000 of your viewers, and I'm still have to pay for the extra 500,000. So this is why things like online media will help, because that way you're able to kind of pick specifically what you want. That sort of thing you have there. But you also have just a general thing. If you want to blanket it, you want, social media is oftentimes good for teenage and 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s audience. I'm not saying this, by the way. I'm not saying this is a generalization, and I actually wouldn't say this myself. I would say social media in the modern day is actually used by most people, and people say, they're on social media. That's maybe majority wise, but I've seen multiple people that are elderly. They are on social media. They're actually on social media more than others, because if I'm at work and I'm I'm working away, and one day, of course, I will retire myself, because I'll be put out of a job because I won't be able to do it as efficiently as possible, and that shouldn't be the case. People, if people don't have a pension, that can be, well, deadly. But one day that's probably going to happen, and the situation is that so they're working away, and then one day you go and you go, okay, so I've still got a few years left to me, and obviously if you've got more time on your hands, well, and there's people you have to talk to, and maybe you continue to work part-time, all these sort of things, but you tend to have, not everyone, but you tend to have more time when you're in those elderly years, which means obviously you can't just be on your phone, going and checking your social media site if your manager is going, what are you doing on your phone? You're supposed to be attending to customers. You can't be doing that. So obviously that'll mean that you will actually end up finding that people who have more time will be the ones on their phones, and that tends to be people who are elderly sometimes, not always, but sometimes. I'm just saying that while this is just a thing that maybe if you're working for a brand agency, if you're working for like an agency to talk with this, maybe it's better to say all the people for all the people wouldn't need social media. But me personally, what I've seen that plenty of older people are actually interested in social media. They're on it quite a lot. You also have the whole thing of TV and newspaper advertisements being kind of linked also with the elderly. Once again, wouldn't always say that. Most elderly people I know don't take newspapers. They don't have newspapers. I mean, they might read the news online, the online newspapers, but that will be the same as really any kind of, website. That sort of thing. Like, they view websites, that sort of thing. A lot of people wouldn't view newspapers, and that includes people who are elderly. In fact, it tends to be more people who are kind of in their 40s, 50s, and that sort of age that have a newspaper. People who have children now that are grown up. That kind of thing where it's like, well, they're in the stage where they were not born into the technology age, but they are living their adult lives in it, and they're living their working lives in it, and that's the situation. So they're like, oh, well, this thing's what I had beforehand, so I'll take this. Not everyone, of course. I'll just say it's like newspapers. It's one of those things, but I don't really agree with that statement. Anyway, now you also have another thing, which is the whole system of online kind of media following when you've got a specific influencer. This video is sponsored by whoever, it's that kind of thing where you're able to go, okay, so you've got this person who they've got a big media presence, or maybe just a media presence, and they interact with a specific target market, they interact with a specific market, or that's mainly the market. So they go ahead and go, okay, so we'll connect with this company, or we'll set up a company with us, or whatever the case may be, and then you get people to buy products via that online presence, and that can be basically free, for the person. Like TV advertisers, they have to pay a lot of the time for the content. If you're on television, you have to pay a load of money for all these sort of things, and sometimes TV advertising, I would say, would be one of those things where like you're making enough money off, really, you make enough money. I think the issue is that TV advertising, you need to have advertisements. You just don't need to make them so expensive, Like some TV advertisers will be making millions of advertising, and that's kind of weird. It's like, well, you're making a lot of profit there for, basically just an advert. But you also got, kind of when you've got sort of sponsored like segments, which are often problematic if they're not labeled correctly. They've got all sorts of things. But you also have stages, the stage of the product life cycle. You see, intense advertising may be needed to actually launch a product. If I'm launching a product, no one knows about my brand. I'm not a company that has already loads of successful products that I can essentially just advertise on them for free. I'm not one of those things. I'm a brand new corporation. I've got this product and I want people to buy it, or need people to buy it realistically if you've already produced it. So this will mean you might need to have intense advertising at the launch stage of the product life cycle. You probably won't be able to afford television maybe, but probably not. You might use billboards or advertisements online. But as the product moves to the maturity stage, that online advertising might be toned down to be just a regular sort of a flow with adverts online, instead of just like a advert. This sort of thing you have here, which is like, you have it just use on advertising, just sort of don't have like thing, just have just basic advertising at a steady pace. And this can just increase customer awareness of the product, and it just sort of like, if you're on a maturity stage and you've got your product, you just want people to continue to be aware. Or if you've got a sale on any of these things, all these things mean that you have a sudden sort of like a thing where it's like, okay, so this product is here. So thank you for coming and viewing the video, and please do view other videos and do subscribe to the YouTube channel. As I said before, if you listen to other videos, it does help. If you won't come back, I guess I'll say this: goodbye forever then, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your existence.